Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another show of Inspirate Business, where we're here to inspire you, to empower you, and to enlighten you with a very special guest that we have each week on our hot couch, and somebody that can inspire us to share their journey of where they've come from in terms of their entrepreneurial journey, and then we can take some of those pearls of wisdom and implement it in our own lives and hopefully improve the businesses that we in. If we want to start our own businesses, maybe that will just be that catalyst to start your own business and then achieve the successes that they achieve. Now, today I have none other than a very good friend of mine, Arshad Moola. Welcome, Arshad.
Jazakallah. Thank you for having me, Yusuf.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Now, Arshad, if everybody doesn't know, you probably have encountered Arshad some time in your life. Arshad is the owner of the very famous, especially the Durban people, and now Joburg, the very, very famous business called Gorimas Spice Shop.
Yeah.
Today, just called Gorimas.
Gorimas.
Started in 1979, I believe.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Okay, so Gorimas was actually started with just one product. It's called Meji Masala.
Okay.
And so it was started by my aunt, Kari Jamal. And
She's late now.
She's late. She passed away at the beginning of 2021. Amin. And, she, in 1979, she had her son who was a year old. She was expecting her second son. And times were tough. And she needed to earn an income. But she was very entrepreneurial from a young age.
So how old was she at the time?
At that time, I think she was 29 years old.
Okay.
Okay. And
in Durban, right?
in Durban. And her husband's aunt, her Gorikala, was Zuleika Mayat. So
the famous Zuleika Mayat of Indian Delights.
Of Indian Delights fame.
Right.
So she had a very good mentor to guide her. And Auntie Zuleika Mayat also appreciated Auntie Khadija's, real attitude to a go-getter attitude. And so what she did was she helped her develop this first product called Meji Masala. And she developed it with the non-Indian customer as well as the working woman customer. So, traditional Indian cooking involves a number of different spices. And I don't know if you remember, our mums and our grannies, they would make their masalas beforehand. And it was it could be quite a painstaking process.
As you're speaking, I'm already smelling that kitchen with that masala.
With the masala.
Yes,
and then you get these visions of them cleaning the dana jiru. And grinding it after that.
I'm thinking of those big silver utensils that they would use.
Yes, absolutely. So what she had in her mind was convenience for people that didn't have time for that. And she developed this masala. She called it Meji Masala, short for magic masala.
Okay.
And it was, in my mind, it's probably the first ever wet masala that you had available commercially.
So it was like having your fresh masala that you would make, like how grannies and mothers used to make in the kitchen. But now you could get it off the shelf.
Yeah. At that time, if you walked into any supermarket, you'd get a lot of these fine ground powders. And the common thing that she'd hear is, hey, I bought all these things and I put it in the pot and it just didn't come out the way you cooked it. And I'm sure we get that. When we've had guests over who don't know Indian cooking and then they want to try it at home and they say, it just doesn't come out the way you do it. So she developed an all-in-one masala. And from not even her own kitchen, because she didn't have her own kitchen. She started it out of Zuleika Mayat's kitchen. And
so Auntie Zuleika was also based in Durban?
In Durban at the time,
All right, okay.
And so what happened was she developed the product and she took the product to one of the buyers at the then biggest supermarket chain, OK Bazaars, right? And this gentleman said to her, okay, fine, you want me to list your product? But if I put it on the shelf, it's not going to sell. Because if you put it on the shelf, nobody knows your product, right? The supermarkets definitely don't have a sales team that's going to punch your product. So she was brave and she asked the buyer, how do I get this product to be well known? And he says, you know what, listen, you got to do the hard yards. Go and do demonstrations. Go door to door if you have to. Go to flea markets. And that's how you're going to build your brand. So Gorimas has literally been built from the ground up at that level. And so she did the demonstrations. Her brother and her brothers, went door to door. She did flea markets. I don't know if you remember the first ever flea market here in opposite the Market Theatre.
Yes.
She used to drive down.
The famous one, yeah.
She used to drive down to Joburg, fill her boot with product, and come and sell it there. And she'd do a roaring trade.
So she'd come up from Joburg, from Durban.
Yeah.
And then and then market it at the flea market.
Yeah, market it at the flea market. And then once she did that, she went back to the buyer. And the buyer said, yes, now you're ready. And that's when he listed the product.
Wow.
So in Durban, a few OK Bazaar's branches had it. And so she did that until around about 1986. And in 1986, I think Durban's only second mall opened, called the Workshop. I don't know if you remember.
Yes. That was the very famous,
Yeah.
as Joburgers, when we came to Durban, and we had to go and visit the Workshop.
It was this really posh mall.
Yes.
I mean, the security guards were dressed like bobbies on the beat.
Yes.
It had a very colonial feel to it.
A little bit like toward town side of things.
Yes. And, being in apartheid times, it was predominantly white tenants. But being in Durban, they had to have an Indian flavor to it. So they gave one small corner of the mall to non-white traders. So I don't know if you know Oriental Restaurant, which is famous for their bunny chows. It's an institution in Durban that had started then. Auntie Karija had a small 11 square meter shop, and that had started then. Auntie Karija, in fact, had experience in running a takeaway.
So it was then branded as Gorimas.
Gorimas
Where
Spice
did the name
Shop.
come from?
So Gorimas, everybody asks me, who is Gorima?
Yes.
Tell me, who is Gorima? And, there's a few people that come to mind. Auntie Zuleika Mayat being one. My nani, my grandmother, she comes to mind as well. She worked in the shop until she was 89 years old.
So your nani is, of course, Auntie Khadija's mom.
Yeah.
Right.
So Auntie Khadija is my mom's younger sister.
Okay. All right.
So the term Gorima in your typical Gujarati family, so you have a hierarchy of siblings. So the eldest brother, his wife is Motima. And then the second brother, his wife is Gorima. So typically, people don't approach the Motima for advice on cooking and that kind of thing.
Because she's the younger.
She's the eldest.
She's the eldest. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
But the second one is more approachable.
Right.
And she's the one. She's the
because
go-to
she's
person.
more approachable. Right.
Yes.
Right.
So that's your Gorima. And that's how the term came up. So it's a concept, but there are a few people that I've grown up around that I can apply that to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So she now starts the store officially in 1970.
In 1986.
1986. Okay.
Yeah.
She started in 1979 with the concept, and then at the workshop in 1986.
86. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
that
remember
store-
that work. I remember the workshop. I remember going there when it kind of just opened or
Yeah,
something. It must
yeah.
have been a little kid.
That store the first store was only 11 square meters in size. Our every store today is about 100 square meters. And when she started that, she had managed to sign a lease. She had 100 Rand worth of stock.
Sure.
She barely filled her shelves, but she gave a lot of credit to some of the wholesalers in Durban at the time. In fact, people say Spice Emporium, ex-Haribais, used to be our competitor, but they were in wholesale before, and they had given her a leg up by granting her goods on credit. And that's how she built her business.
And that's so powerful. I mean, such lessons, right, for our viewers there and people that want to get into business.
Yes.
People get so, I think, sort of intimidated by this business world.
Yeah.
How am I going to start? And I need all the money and I need all of that. But what an amazing story.
Yes.
Right? That here is somebody that gets guided by saying, okay, you've got this product that the market needs. Go and put the hard miles in to market. And then, of course, doesn't have the money, but then gets support from suppliers to get it to where she is today.
Yeah.
We've come to the end of the first segment with this. Wow, what an amazing story! The history of the famous Gorimas. All of you out there, I know each one of us have in some way, touched that point of Gorimas.
Absolutely.
Through even maybe going into a restaurant somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I guess you guys supply restaurants now. We'll talk about where you are from that 1979 with that one store, and or 1986 with that one store, and where you've grown to today. Immediately after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, and we have on our hot couch none other than Arshad Moola sharing with us the history behind the household brand Gorimas that we all know. I knew it as Gorimas Spice Shop. Today it's just called Gorimas. Now you were saying your aunt started this in 1979. She then got listed at OK Bazaars at the time in KZN. She was nurtured and inspired by her aunt, the famous Zuleika Mayat of Indian Delights. And what a connection there. And it just makes me so proud, right, to believe that at the time, 1979, and I mean, we talk about there's no women empowerment. Now, up to today, we still talk about, here were two ladies. Yeah. Right? With all the patriarchy that we were surrounded by. And goes and makes a success of a very, very powerful brand today. Right? So she then, we stopped off at where she now opens, and this is at a time in the height of apartheid, where black businesses were never really given a chance. Right? You were like pushed into your areas. And here you're breaking into, I mean, the workshop was the mall. It was like probably equivalent to Gateway today. At the time. So she gets there and gets supported by other suppliers. And then where to from there?
So one thing I want to say before we carry on is she was just fearless. She wasn't afraid to approach anybody. And it didn't matter their gender, their race, their creed. She just looked, and the way she approached people is the amount of respect and the amount of attention that she gave them, that the people would respond very favorably to her.
And this was a young 29-year-old. I mean, then when she started about in her 30s.
So then she moved on. So it was also quite a family business because she had both her brothers as well as her husband involved, and then obviously the sisters-in-law as well. So they grew the business, but now, as you know, in family businesses, there comes a point where things need to be separated. And so it got to the point where they had the manufacturing operation as well as the retail operation. And
so you mean she then started her own manufacturing?
So this Maggi Masala was still being manufactured.
Right.
And then, so the brothers said, you know what, I don't want to be opening any more stores and stuff. I'd be happy just doing the manufacturing. So they parted ways amicably there. And she carried on. Now, in all of this, there's myself and my brother.
So that's the question. How do you guys connect into this whole world?
So we grew up in Joburg. We proper Azadville boys.
But you were born in Mpumalanga.
In Mpumalanga, in Volksrust.
That's right. Schooled in Azadville. I mean, that's where we connected, right?
Yeah. So we lived in Lodium for a while. Then we moved into Azadville. That's when we got to know everybody there. We tried immigration to Canada for a while. Came back. And, you know, even those kind of experiences.
You have a Canadian citizenship?
No, I was just there for 6 months.
Okay,
It was just too cold.
Okay, right.
So we came back to Azadville. Now, in all of this, every school holiday, we'd be spending in Durban. And like, friends in school would say, hey, you get to spend so much of time in Durban, you lucky. Sorry. The thing is, most of the time, we were actually working. Either in the factory, putting labels on bottles, putting bottles in cases, or when the shops opened, serving customers in the shop, or being a cashier.
At this time, how many stores were there?
So when she had the workshop, she opened Pinetown, and Pinetown didn't do too well. And I think a learning from there is that when you get a new mall that opens, if you open immediately with that new mall, you got to be patient. And at that time, they didn't have the wherewithal to be patient, because a lot of premier retailers will tell you, you open in a brand new mall, be prepared to take a loss for 2 years. And at that time, with the size of her business, she wasn't able to do that. Then the Wheel opened in Durban. And I don't know if you remember, that also was an award-winning center.
Yes. Very unique mall.
Very unique. And that went for a while, but also there, having the family involved and trying to manage the store, there were a lot of challenges. So she closed that down pretty quickly. But then in 1994, my brother had just finished about 3 years in the corporate environment. And he said, I don't want to work for a boss anymore. And Auntie Khadija had seen my brother, and we all had grown up in the business. So she offered him to open a store in the Pavilion. And this is like 1994. So he opens in the Pavilion. And then she opens Musgrave. Now, I graduated from university end of 1997. But I still wanted
What did you study?
I studied BCom Informatics at Rao. And I actually chose Rao because I didn't want to go to Wits, because everybody was failing at Wits, just having a party, right? And then, but I was a very reclusive kind of individual. I just wanted to go to university, get my stuff done, come home. But I wasn't very hardworking either. I was more into Nintendo and TV, and I was quite the reserved kind of character. And so once I was close to graduation, my cousin Riza Acha, he had already done a year working holiday in the UK. And when we sent him off in 1996, I said, you know what, when I'm done with my university, I'm joining you. So as soon as I didn't even have confirmation that I'd passed, I applied for my visa. And once I got my visa and I had subs to write, and I was like, all in, that's the hardest I've ever worked, to make sure I passed my subs. I got my degree, and then I was on the first plane out to the UK.
How many years did you spend in London? So
I was it's actually not just in London, but in the Midlands. So I started out in the Midlands in Lincolnshire, in a place called Spalding, and I worked in fruit factories. The first ever job I did there was working in an onion factory, and I did about 2 weeks in there, and it was torture, because like you work for this, what they call a gang, which is like, we call it a labor broker here, and they organize the labor, and they send you a car at 5:30 in the morning. You get picked up, you go to work. As soon as you get in there, you stand at this conveyor belt for 12 hours, and all you're doing is you're cleaning onions. So an onion to a consumer is, you see a nice clean onion,
yes.
But this is now coming out of the harvest. It's covered with soil, and it's got the.
So you do all the cleaning part.
You're cleaning that. At the end of the shift, you look at your hands, and they're black from all the soil. You blow your nose, and all of that black comes out. But it's really humbling. And what that taught me is not to put yourself in comfort zones. So if you make yourself
you're
out
there in the cold of the Midlands of the UK, and it must be quite, and coming from Durban, right, which is a warm temperature,
right,
difficult.
And the strange thing is, there you're starting work at 6 a.m. in the morning, and in winter you don't see the sun. You leave at 6 p.m. and the sun is already set 2 hours ago. So come the weekend, I walk outside and I feel really strange. And I'm saying, why does everything feel strange? And it's because the sun is out and you get to see a lot more. So So those are really
So you
humbling
spent
experiences.
what you said 2-3 years in
2-3 years.
yeah,
Yeah,
with
so-
different type of jobs.
So
But I guess that rearing helped you a lot to what you're doing right now.
absolutely.
Right? Besides, I mean, your academic background, right?
Yeah.
Your tertiary, which you did informatics.
Yeah,
But that experience in the UK,
absolutely.
you brought all of that into Gorimas.
Absolutely. And even the earlier experiences with Gorimas. So as I said, we were cashier or serving customers. Once I got my license, I had to drive the van, right? It's a 1400 Nissan Bakkie, and you go to the factory, you load it. It's got a 500 kilogram payload, but we're loading 600 kilos. I just got my license, and I'm driving, and I'm going to deliver this thing. And that thing's overloaded and you're floating down the freeway and you just got to handle that. There's no air conditioning, so you got the windows open, the masala stinging your eyes. But those were the real fun times. So
and that's where you learn, right? That discipline, I guess, to be an entrepreneur, because it's not easy being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, you always see the hunky dory side of it. Right?
Yeah.
The successes, the guy's fancy car and whatever he's purchasing, and but when you double click into the person's life, there's a whole other side of it.
Absolutely.
Right. And I guess all that experiences in the UK and what you just said now, that actually has gotten you to where you are today.
Yeah. So then when we left Lincolnshire, we went to the World Cup in France in 1998. And then I said,
that's the one that they won, right?
That's the one that they won.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
And just being in the UK for so many months and then going into France, and we hit the Eurostar under the North Sea, and you come out on the other end and you're in France, and what a difference there is in cultures. And then I said, after the World Cup, I'm not going to go back to the farm. I'm going to live in London, because that's such a hub. It's a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities and religions. And even amongst Muslims, you go to different mosques, you get different exposure. Right? So you look for familiarity. And I found other South African guys. One being Musa Jasad, and Yusuf Dadu, and shared a flat with them. Didn't know them from above, so we started sharing a flat with them.
Okay, so what an incredible journey. Talking about Gorimas and Arshad's aunt that starts the business, and then yourself getting involved in this business as a youngster, studying, then venturing off into the UK, getting experiences there, hard experiences. Working at an onion manufacturing business. I mean, can you just imagine that experience? So we've come to the end of the segment, and we will take this further. Let's understand how then has Gorimas now, I believe it's about 24 stores and growing.
Yeah.
You've just entered recently with all the COVID that is, and the pandemic and the challenges with that. You've entered the Johannesburg market.
Yeah.
So let's explore Gorimas and where is it going to in the future after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, where we're here to inspire you, to empower you, and to enlighten you. And we have been enlightened by Arshad Moola telling us the story of the very famous household brand Gorimas. For those of you that are, we all are in some way or other, affected in some way through culinary experiences, through Gorimas. And who's sitting here in a hot couch is someone who has built this, I would call, a mini empire, right? The Gorimas empire. 24 stores today. Started off in a small kitchen, not even a kitchen.
Not even a kitchen.
Your aunt didn't even have a kitchen.
Right.
And in 1979, think of that. That's like, 40-something years?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That this business is running for. By a woman in 1979. I want to repeat that, by a woman.
By a woman.
Who says that women cannot be successful in business. Here is somebody that has done it. Now, Arshad, you were telling us before the break of your experiences in London, your tertiary education, growing up in Azadville, and combining all of those experiences and also working as a youngster on the holidays when you used to go and work in the factory at Gorimas manufacturing side of things, as well as the stores. Then your brother opened the store at the pavilion. There were some failures as well of certain stores. And you've learned through all of that, right? So I'm just thinking aloud now, right? Here was your aunt, who was this go-getter, fearless woman you mentioned. And then you guys come now with your tertiary background, this academic experiences, corporate. Your brother was in the corporate world for 3 years. You working in the corporate environment in the UK with your BCom informatics. So I guess bringing that infused with already this core traditional business that is successful, then that mixture, then combines to turn it into an enterprise.
So, when you study, and my brother was told, what did you study for? I mean, now he did a BSc computer science, and then he worked in a corporate for 2 different companies. He was at Transnet and then at another software company. And he was told, so why did you study? You're going to work in a masala shop. And then when I joined Gorimas, a friend of mine who didn't have a degree, he told me, you got a degree, what are you spending time in a masala shop for? And, ever since I was a young kid, I had a vision. I remember telling my sister when I was in grade 2, why don't we see Maggi Masala being advertised on TV? And that was the foundations for this vision, to actually grow Gorimas where it is a well-known brand in every household. And so when you come into this, so you come into an environment where my aunt is this entrepreneur, and she always prided herself on the fact that she didn't even have a matric, right? And we come, and she insisted that we had to study, finish our degrees, because that was my father's dream, that all his children got tertiary degrees, and that we also had to get some work experience. She didn't allow us in the front door from the get-go. We had to go in, get
dirty, put in the hard miles,
get dirty, be belittled, and then come into the
I love that. I so love it. I mean, for kids today, we all want it all soft. You think business is just about soft, just getting in there, and there's all this Insta money that's been made.
Absolutely.
Insta billionaires that have been made, shown on social media. But again,
nobody tells you of all this hard yards that you have to put in. So we come in, and now we have this shaped kind of thinking of this tertiary education, and now you're dealing with an entrepreneur, and she used to think at a mile a minute, and she was always on the go, and you're trying to structure things, but she's already thinking 10 steps ahead of you, right? But you still need to bring some order into it. So we've had to come in and organize the buying, because when I joined, there were 3 stores. Every one of those stores did their own buying, did their own stocking. So you had these conflicts where a customer would shop at the workshop and say, but your price at the pavilion is different. So we centralized the buying, we centralized the pricing strategies. And then we had to centralize the branding, because one store had the name Gorimas, another one with Gorimas, but they didn't look and feel the same. So you needed to make it more uniform. You needed to learn things about HR. When we started out, we didn't even know, like I came in and I said, hey, in my previous job, I used to get a pay slip. We're not even giving our staff pay slips. So let's get that.
Bring in all the corporate,
bring all of that.
That enterprise knowledge into this successful small business.
Absolutely. So, and then, the other thing is about recruitment and management. Up until about 2016, 2017, the highest qualified employee at Gorimas had just a matric. We didn't have anybody with a degree. And what that meant was the 3 of us at the top were actually doing most of the work. So, every month, come month end, you're stressing because you're doing the pay slips. We were even at a point where up until about 2015, we were doing still pay envelopes with cash going to every single staff member and giving to them. But there's one thing that I miss is personally signing a thank you on their pay slip and giving it to them.
How beautiful is that, eh?
And
so the 24 stores are all run, because I'm just now thinking as you're speaking, that you've now standardized stuff, right?
Absolutely.
You brought in systems, processes.
Yeah.
Right? Is what is now, it turns from a small business to an enterprise.
Yeah.
Which what that does, it allows you to scale. You probably then went from a certain number pretty fast to the 24.
So we've had certain moments where we had this burst of growth. So in 2013 we were 8 stores, and
so from 2013 you were 8. That's what I was just trying to say. So it's exactly what you said. Or what I was saying is that from 2013, and that's now what
9 years.
9 years, you then jump threefold.
Yes. So my cousin. So my Auntie Karija had my mom as the elder sister, and then there was the middle sister, Auntie Sarah. So Auntie Sarah's son, Firoz, joined us in 2013. And that also gave us some space to be able to open another 5 stores. So that took us now to 13 stores. But prior to that, and prior to us getting organized, you'd get people approaching us and saying, please consider this lease, come and open in this mall. And we'd say, we just don't have the time. But now as we get more organized, I think that's helped us a lot. Somebody advised me as well that Warren Buffett attributed his success to 2 things. One is he completed his MBA, which I started in 2010. I only graduated in 2016, but that's another story.
You did it.
Right? And something else he did was the Dale Carnegie course. So that I did in 2008. And 2008 was a particularly bad year for us. I had just come back from Hajj. Within about a month of that, my nanny passed away. And then within another month of that, my brother was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so in that year, he had 2 brain tumor operations. But in that time...
This was in what, 2000?
2008.
Wow.
So, but in all of this tribulation, I said, no, I have to still do things for myself. So that's when I did the Dale Carnegie course. And that helped me a lot in terms of communication skills and being able to get your ideas across to your staff members and share your vision with other people.
And also keep yourself in a good positive state, right? Because that's what it's about, right? But all the things that happens around you, all the challenges, that must have been quite hectic. To lose your grandmother,
right?
Allah grant her Jannah, and then I know your brother. Went through quite an ordeal. And it was an ordeal for the whole family. And it was at that point that we realized also that, we can't do everything ourselves. You can't, it still carried on for a while. Actually, in 2008, I was actually robbed at gunpoint outside a bank as well. And so it was just one thing after another. But getting through that, you look back and you think, what did I learn from that? And, somebody also told me recently, you don't see the CEO of these major supermarkets on the till, just making sure. And that's the typical Indian business mentality. You got to, in Gujarati, they say, hachaujo, right? So you got to watch the cash and make sure nobody has their hands in the cash. But if you only got your eye on that, you lose focus, or you lose track of everything else in your business. So you need to, the challenge for us has been to hire more management level people to come in and watch those kind of things for us. That's a unique differentiator. I think if there's one criticism, I think you mentioned this now,
right,
to maybe in traditional Indian Muslim businesses is that the ability, they're very successful, cash flow wise, very cash rich.
Right.
But the ability to scale, right, is
Absolutely.
when you have to bring what you've done, which is brought these systems and processes in place, and then bring in the people that are beyond the people that you know, your circle, right?
Yeah.
You're now bringing a proper recruitment type of approach in, where you bring in hiring the best, right? That can come in, and then through that, you develop this organizational IP, intellectual property, and it's almost the organization develops its own value, which allows it to then move beyond yourselves,
right?
And that's very, very powerful. So we've actually already come to the end of this segment. Wow, we have so much to absorb here. I know for me, I'm like really excited, putting my own consulting hat on, my business hat on, where just listening to you, the story of this combination of somebody that's a go-getter, fearless, create something, and then bringing in this modern day processes and systems together with us, turning this into a standard system that allows you to be a brand, a powerful brand that you can then put value on.
Absolutely.
Right? Which anybody then can come in and say, I'd like to buy this business. I mean, how many of us can say we run businesses? Yes. But can you actually sell that business as a going concern that can just run smoothly through that transition? So after the break, let's listen again to Arshad and where to from here on for Gorimas. I know you've just come into Joburg. I mean, you're here for a couple of years now.
Just a year now.
A year.
Yeah.
So how many stores in Joburg?
So we have the Glen, Cresta, and Sandton City.
All right. So let's explore this and why Joburg and where to from here for Gorimas after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, and we have been taken on an extremely insightful, exciting journey by Arshad Moola on our hot couch, where he's spoken about Gorimas. For those of you that know, who doesn't know, Gorimas, I know it as Gorimas Spice Shop, but now today known as Gorimas. And it started off by his aunt Khadija Mal, and inspired, interestingly, by the lady who we all know. We all have this in our homes. We all grew up with the Indian delights, and this was Auntie Khadija's aunt, right? And inspired, and then Arshad and his brother get involved, and the extended family, and build this family business, which has been operating for the last 43 years now, into an enterprise, bringing in this systems and processes, which has allowed Gorimas to scale to now 24 stores, 3 just in the last year in the Johannesburg area. You have one in Cresta, you have one in Sandton, at Sandton City, right? And the third one is
in the Glen, in the south of
Glen. All right, okay, perfect. So what got you to get to these stores, I guess, is because, I mean, you had this real growth factor from 2013 to 2020. You were at 8 in 2013, and through the systems and processes has allowed you, the standardization has allowed you to get to now 24. And how has this been? Has it been, what have you lost in that process?
So the one of our greatest fears, ever for as long as I know Gorimas as a spice shop, people have said, when are you opening in Cape Town? When are you opening in Durban? And this is like as early as 1986. In fact, my father had explored the possibility of opening something in Highgate when it opened.
Right. I remember that.
Right. So
one that's near Bosmont. Yeah.
So now that we've expanded, so you get faced with a whole lot of other challenges. So there's all of these HR challenges. So you got to recruit people, and how do you recruit them? You got to train people, because when I walk into a store, and my Auntie Khadija used to say this as well, she can walk into a store and she'll pick up, her antennas are on, and she just picks up everything that needs to be fixed in the store, right? And so we're finding that when you duplicate things like IT, HR, merchandising, stock replenishment. Those things all come into play. Those are all business factors that you need to learn. Now, something I emphasize to all my staff and all my employees, and it's a mantra for us, is that we are food people in business. We are not business people selling food.
That's powerful. You are food people in business. Yes.
But the thing is, there's a lot of business protocols that still need to apply, and we still need to work with it. However, why I say that we are food people in business is that we will still want to retain that passion. You don't want to have this supermarket kind of style offering where a customer walks in, they know what they want, you just give them that and they walk out the door.
So it's a cold experience.
It's a cold, sterile experience.
Yes.
You know, in this world of information in Google, you go and Google a recipe for a chicken curry, you get 1,000 recipes. But if nothing beats walking into a brick and mortar store, interacting with a person who tells you, here's the recipe for chicken curry, I've cooked it myself, this is developed by the people, the directors, they also eat it themselves. So what we instituted recently, we instituted a taste panel. So every Wednesday, if you walk into our boardroom table is covered with samples. Really bad for this,
but you can see.
But we ensure that the quality is right. When it comes to new staff hires, I personally go and do product knowledge training with them, and I try and get them to learn this mantra of being food people.
So this personal touch, that's what you're talking about. You're saying, that's what I'm hearing you say, right?
Yes.
Is that with all the standardization, you need that
Right.
gives you the structure
Right.
for growth, but you cannot lose that personal touch, that passion.
That passion,
right?
The
Which
passion
is
has to
food,
be there. Yeah.
right? That's the passion.
Yeah.
That's the purpose.
Absolutely.
Right? Everything else, I mean, you're saying food in business. I mean, that's your purpose.
Yeah.
That's your passion. Yeah.
That's our passion. You know, it's something that Auntie Khadija instilled in us. She said she's not in it for the money. So if you look at other retailers, and with due respect to them, when they look at a product, they're thinking margins, they're thinking stock turn rates, they're thinking, how many units they can push. We think differently. We think of how we enhance the person's life. And you know, something I also drum into my employees' minds is that they mustn't think of an immediate sales. We got to think of building a relationship. So if you sell to a customer for 2,000 Rand today, will that customer feel satisfied and come back to you? Or if you sell that to that same customer for 100 Rand today, but they come back to you over a period of time and they slowly build up. That's what we look to do. We want to be trusted. We want to act with honesty and integrity. And that's a challenge for us, because now geographically, if I had to open in Cape Town, for example, it's very hard to be there and see how customers are being served. So that is now what we need to. That's the challenge we're facing, and we need to address that challenge in getting our team to actually follow the same values and principles.
You know, I was listening to something very interesting. Is that with all this technological advancement, I mean, it's going to pretty much technology will automate most business processes.
Yes.
Okay, so most of everything you're dealing with now, AI and all of that, you can do this. You can even go global now with all of that.
Right.
But the one thing that you're never going to be automating is exactly the stuff that you now talking about.
Yeah.
That integrity, empathy, passion, soul, that no technology will be able to do that. Those will probably be the most important aspects of business going into the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's about then infusing that into the entering in your business. So where to from here? You've got 3 stores in Joburg, and you're saying the expansion. Are you looking at other stores?
So we want to expand further into Gauteng. The East Rand is crying for us.
Okay.
Mid Rand is crying. Tshwane is also looking for Gorimas. And, you know, Cape Town is just there nagging at us, because as long as I can remember, when we had Cape Townian customers walk into our Durban stores, they say, you come to Cape Town, just put Durban on your label and people will buy from you. And we find, I've done significant research on our competitors. There is a brand that's done by a multinational here. And when I actually break it down and reverse engineer what goes into there, I've learned that, in mass-produced products, there's a lot of tricks of trade that they apply. They will put in a certain spice to give it that smell that people think is authentic. Or they will put in, like in every curry, you got to put dhania powder, jeera powder, turmeric powder, chili powder. But in theirs, they will put the cheapest in abundance. And they will put the most expensive in a very small percentage. And they'll add fillers. So there's all these tricks of trades tricks of the trade that customers don't know about. Customers don't look at the fine print. And that's what I encourage people, is to look at the fine print to see what you're eating.
So you're focusing on the quality, right? And that traditions that your aunt, all those years back you spoke about in 1979,
yes,
when she created that Maggi masala,
right,
that, yes, took it out of the kitchen in your home to a mass market, but still kept that authenticity of that fresh masala.
Absolutely.
So you keep in those same principles in what you're doing. How many SKUs do you have now? How many products do you guys have right now?
So we looking at about 2,000 SKUs in a store. So in a small 100 square meter space.
So it started in 1979 at one SKU, Maggi masala, now to what, 2,000?
Yeah. So Auntie Khadija's motto was, never say no to a customer. So you'll see in the book that there's...
So this is her book.
Yeah.
And this, where she wrote this book before she passed away.
Yeah. So this was like her life's work. In the year 2000, she had started this project where she wanted to write her own recipe book.
What an honor to have. I mean, this is such a great honor to give her.
Yes.
I mean, obviously she's left us, and but what an honor to have this book that will be in everybody's kitchens.
I call it her last labor of love because she started in 2000, but for 18 years it was a project that was just in limbo. And in December 2018, she officially retired, and she dedicated the year of 2019 to putting the final touches in this book. So
what a thing,
she collected all the recipes.
That's when they say takdir.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Yes, she collected all the
her
recipes.
legacy.
And she cooked it 3 times over. And only on the third test, she called in the photographers to take pictures of every recipe.
So just share with us a little bit about the book. I mean, it looks, I'm already getting hungry here when you were talking about some of
So her idea...
you talked about chicken curry and...
Was
what's on the cover? What?
So this is your kebab chutney.
Okay.
Very famous in our family.
Right.
On a good day, I eat 8 of these in one go. Right, and it's an amazing, easy to use recipe, and but it's not just a recipe book. It tells her life story as well.
Okay.
And
so it's a whole journey, and all the recipes here are infused by all your family, your extended family, etc.
So what she did was she went to each of the family members. This is her in her first shop.
Oh, wow.
This is around about 1988, somewhere around there. And so she went to every family member and asked, what is your favorite recipe that I cook for you? So each of us gave her a recipe and we gave a story. So mine was... just a simple recipe.
Yeah, let's just go through.
I call it patkos chicken.
Now getting closer to the end of the show, and so, this is wow. So what's this? This is your.
This is my recipe.
Patkos chicken.
Right. So
be the traveler that you are, right?
Be the traveler that you are. But the story is whenever we went there on holiday, and she sent us back. So we were joking how we used to take Rasul's taxis and take the Golden Wheels and take the Greyhound to go back. So you'd stop there in Harrismith somewhere, and all of those outlets are not halal. And this is what you'd open in your lunchbox.
Mom will make you that patkos, and then you'll be having that, right?
You'll be having that.
Wow. On that note, what came out so interesting here is that food is an experience. I mean, when you think of food, we think an association with some experience. There you just mentioned now, right? When you're traveling, you can associate it.
The nostalgia that comes
Yeah,
out.
I can recall a lunch with a person that I've had, but because of that food that you had, what a beautiful occasion you had. You know, you were somewhere in Cape Town and you sat there in a lovely environment and you had a lovely meal, or you're in Durban and you had an experience. And that's the passion that's in Gorimas. That's the passion that Arshad and his now family, his aunt is now late, but now taking this business to the next level, but never moving away from that purpose and passion, that being food drives the business rather than the other way around.
Absolutely.
And keeping those ethos, a very powerful thing Arshad mentioned, and that was, your aunt never said she did this because of the money. She did it because of her passion for it, and the money flowed and the success flowed.
Absolutely.
And I think that is such a powerful message for any would-be entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur maybe struggling in their business. Go back to that passion. And if you can go back to that, then your business will flourish, inshallah. We've come to the end of the show. Thank you so much, Arshad.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. I've got this especially for you.
Thank you.
And
thanks a lot.
I'd like you to invite me home to taste something.
Yes, I am totally challenged as a cook. But guess what? This is going to be now my foray. I've always wanted to.
Right.
So this is going to be, so the next time we meet, inshallah, maybe in a year's time, you can come and tell us again what's happening in Gorimas. Okay. I can then maybe share with you some of my dishes that I've learned from this book. Jazakallah so much. On that note, we thank you for sharing this last hour with us. And I hope you were as excited as I was as we listened to this journey of Gorimas, Auntie Khadija, and Arshad and his brother and his extended family turning this business into a successful family enterprise. And that can be just so inspiring for you, wherever you are, grappling with your business and wanting to thrive in your business. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.